You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 37. Today, we're talking about how to take your planning process a little bit farther. And this is the sweet spot because now we're going to be talking about taking it 1 quarter at a time. That's just one 90-day period, which is about all any of us can handle anyway, right? Yes, that's true. So that's what we're diving into today. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey, folks, and welcome back. This is Wendy. Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of the Ideal Practice Podcast. How are you guys doing? I hope you're doing well. Here we are, taking off into January, into a whole new year. A whole new world of opportunity is opening up for everyone. And I have to tell you, I'm so excited because it's such a great time of year for reflection, renewal, recommitment. And as is often the case when you're a coach, it's the time of year when I am either starting with new folks or wrapping up with folks who have finished their work with me. And just last week, I have to tell you, I got a note from one of my clients who is indeed finishing up. And she sent me a note and she said, "Here's my final homework." I had one more thing I wanted her to do. She sent that in and she said, "Thank you, Wendy, from the bottom of my heart for all of your nudging, your wisdom, your support, and your kick in the butts. I needed all of them and so appreciate all that you've done for me and for us. Take good care and Merry Christmas." That was a note I got just a week or two ago. And I have to tell you, that just made me smile because I know how hard that person has worked, all that she's done. Her name is Judy. Judy, from my heart to yours, girl, I am incredibly proud of you and really excited about where you are headed, my friend. You're doing important work in the world and your clients are lucky to have you. So how about you all? How are you doing? So what we're doing today, we are continuing in our series. This is part 2 of our series, Planning with Purpose. Did you hear part 1? If not, you might want to go back to episode 36 and check that out. Annual planning comes first. You have to start there. You have to start with the big picture, okay? What we're doing today is how you build on that and take it to the next level. In other words, think about if you were planning a trip to California, you need to know that you're going to California first. You don't start by talking about which local roads you're going to get on. You start by going, we want to land in California. Then you break it down from there, right? So last week was California. Last week, we were talking about where you're going in the big picture. You need to go listen to that if you haven't heard that. And again, don't feel like you need to be taking notes because I have all of this laid out for you, y'all. I've got a really helpful tool that I honestly think could be part of your regular planning process. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's great. And at the end, I'll tell you how to get that. But first, let's talk about something else. In the last episode, I mentioned that one of the things I was really pleased with from this past year was that I had finally finished a new framework that I've been working on for a while now. In that framework, I teach about the 7 pillars you must have in place for a healthy private practice. And to help you get a sense of where you are in that process, where you are in those 7 pillars, I have created a quick and easy assessment tool. I call it the IP360 scorecard. It's a 360-degree review of your practice that kind of hits the highlights, and you can literally complete this in less than 8 minutes. And it will give you a simple and quick assessment of where you are in your own practice development. I've already tested this out with a lot of folks, and it is landing well. People find it really, really helpful. In fact, some of my active clients are using this as a reassessment tool to take stock as they go. So I think you will like it as well. To get a copy of the IP360 scorecard, go to wendypittsreeves.com/360, the numbers 360, to get your copy now. I think you'll find it really helpful. All right, now let's get back to today's episode. So today we're moving into part 2 in our series on planning with purpose. And we've got 2 areas to cover. I want to start with your quarterly planning. So let's talk about why we do it this way. The truth is, y'all, this is about all that we can focus on. If you are an entrepreneur, there's a really good chance that you have more ideas than you can shake a stick at. Now, most of my listeners, most of you tend to fall into one of 2 camps. You may be someone who wakes up in the morning, has an idea, launches it before noon, has no idea what you're doing, and you are figuring it out as you go. I often say that I am building the airplane while I fly it. And there's a lot of truth in that. I can't tell you how real that is for me. On the other hand, you may be in the second camp, and that is those who really need to have everything figured out before they take action. They want to have their T's crossed, their I's dotted. They want to make sure everything is safe, battened down, all figured out before they move. Neither one of those are right or wrong. They're just different ways of working. Whichever camp you tend to fall into, you still are going to need help sustaining your focus, maintaining your momentum. And when you do that for 90 days at a period or 90 days at a time, you are much more likely to be able to be successful. If you're in the first camp where you take action quickly, the danger you have is you're going off in different directions all the time. Focusing for 90 days at a time means you get to pick something that you focus on and nothing else for that period of time. And you should be able to handle that. If you're in the second camp and you like to have everything all figured out, doing it this way means you've got a certain amount of time that you've allotted to something, and then you need to move on. Either way, it's going to work for you. Now, how does this fit with the annual planning that we did last week? Well, last week you talked about your big goals for the year in certain areas. We talked about 5 specific areas. And then we kind of pulled it all together into our primary intention for the year. Well, now it's time to take that big goal or those 5 areas and break them down into smaller steps. And the way to do that is to choose a project, a focus area, a specific goal that you want to tune into for this quarter. So your focus might be in terms of administration and systems, or it might be in terms of client service, customer service, all the different ways you want to do that. It might be in terms of list building, how you are getting new folks into your universe that you can stay in contact with about the work that you're doing. It might be in terms of a new offer you want to make, like a group that you want to launch, or a retreat that you want to do, or an intensive that you want to develop. Whatever it is, you pick something to focus on for this quarter that is relevant to your annual goals. And then there's essentially a series of steps I'm going to walk you through, questions I want you to answer that will help you review the last quarter and make your plans for the next quarter. All right? So let's talk about that. And y'all, this is exactly what you will find when you download the free tool that I have for you today. It's called the Quarterly Success Checker. I'm so excited about this. I love this tool. I think it's really helpful and kind of thought-provoking. So I'm going to just kind of talk you through it. You can go download it later. I'll tell you how to get it. But right now, I just want you to listen to this. So in this tool, there are 6 steps I'm going to ask you to work through. The first one is, as we always do, it starts with a review. I want you to go back and look at your journals, your notes, your calendar, your task lists, anything that you have used for the last 3 months in your practice that's helping you kind of keep a handle on things in your business. Anything that you wrote, anything that you sketched or mapped out that was a big picture for your practice this past quarter. So at the time of this recording, which is in December, we're looking at October, November, December. And I want you to ask yourself, what major goals did you have set for this past quarter that you wanted to accomplish in your practice? And a specific question that most of you don't ask that I'm going to add in here, I want you to ask, what targets did you set for your income and revenue? And if your answer to that is targets, income, revenue, then you already know something you need to be working on for the next time, right? So step 1, what major goals did you have for, in this case, October, November, December? And what targets did you set for your income and revenue? That's step 1. Step 2, as you go back and review those goals and your financial targets. I don't talk about that as often as I probably should, but I want you always to have a financial target. Step 2 is go back and look at that and pay attention to how those things feel now. Do they seem silly and kind of unrealistic, or do they actually seem a little bit easier than you realized? Do they even still fit? So the question you want to ask yourself is, when I look at the goals that I set for myself in my practice back at the beginning of this last quarter, I feel what? Excited, tired, overwhelmed, nervous, thrilled? What? What do you feel? And I am surprised to find that what? And that leads me to realize what? See where I'm going with this? I want you to go back and look at just the last 3 months, not the last year, not your whole life, just the last few months, because that's the part that's most relevant for this. And when you look at that, there are 3 or 4 things that are likely to come to you when you go back and look at your goals from last quarter. And y'all, if you don't have any goals from last quarter, that's okay. This is new, right? You're just learning. That's why we're all here. Don't worry about it. Do the best you can with this. And then as of today, when you work through this process, you will have this to review next time. So it's all good. It's all good. It's all part of the learning. But when you go back and review this way and you ask yourself about the goals that you set at the beginning of last quarter and how they feel and what they tell you, you're going to come away from that knowing one of these things. You're either going to find out you did it. Whatever the goal was that you had for this quarter, by golly, you've done it. It's complete. Yay. Good for you. And now it's time to set a new goal to keep the momentum going. That could be where you land. It could be that you find that you haven't met those goals yet, but you are definitely on track to do so. You are moving steadily in the right direction and you're feeling kind of good about your progress. All you have to do is keep doing what you're doing. It's all good. It may be that you haven't met those goals and it doesn't really look like you're going to either. So it might be time to reevaluate the strategies or the tactics that you've been using. You might need to make some course correction, maybe some adjustments. That's all good. That's fine. Or, and sometimes this happens, things have changed. The situation have changed. Your ideas have changed. Whatever the goals were that you set 3 months ago don't fit anymore. Something has changed and all of a sudden you've realized like that's not where you want to go at all. If that's the case, it might be time for a completely new set of goals. for the next quarter. Always in context of where you said you wanted to go for the year. I always want you to do that. Don't forget about that. So that's what step 2 is. You're basically thinking about, what did I say I was going to do? And did I do it? Where am I at on that process? And how does that feel? That's going to tell you some things. Well, here's where you go next. If what comes out of that is either you've met all the goals, you did it all, checked all those boxes, or actually those goals don't even fit anymore, then if you're in one of those camps, you're basically starting a new phase, a new chapter. It's probably time to come up with a completely new goal or 3. All right. So you might want to spend a little time thinking about what lights you up and what you really want to do next. If this is a place where you are coming up with big new ideas, which isn't normally what you would do here, but sometimes that happens. If that's where you are, it might be a good time to do some scripting, a vision board, a letter to your future self, any of those kinds of exercises that many of you are familiar with that can help you solidify the vision that you have. That might be a good idea here. On the other hand, most of you are going to find that you are making steady progress, or that you're not making great progress and you need to tweak your strategies. If that's the case, then I want you, this is step 4, I want you to ask yourself, what are the current strategies that you are using that you want to keep using? What are you doing that you want to keep doing? This is working, this is working, this is working. And what are some new strategies that perhaps you want to explore? And I guess I could say, what do you want to explore or consider changing or adapting? That could be a part of it too, I guess. But basically, I'm on the right track. This is still the goal. What I'm doing is either working a little bit and I just need to keep going, or it's not really working the way I want, so I need to make some changes, but I'm still wanting to move in this direction. Great. What are the strategies? What do you want to keep doing? And what do you need to tweak? From there, once you figure that out, let's see if I can think of an example of that. So a current strategy that you might want to continue using is, let's say you are sending out, like I do. One of the things I started doing just a few months ago is once a month, I'm sending a newsletter out to all of my active counseling clients. Not talking about the business coaching side. I'm talking about my counseling practice, which I still have. I send a newsletter out to them once a month with some kind of a tip, a metaphor, a strategy, something that they can use, be a little inspired by. And then I talk a little bit about what my schedule's like in the next few weeks, what kind of openings I might have, or anything new that's coming up in terms of my availability to them. Well, that's a strategy that I might continue using because it's kind of working. It's bringing in folks that I haven't talked to in a long time. It's helping me stay more connected to my current folks. People seem to like it. I find people are getting some good use out of it. That's a strategy I want to continue using. But a new strategy I might want to explore. What could that be? Well, it might be perhaps I want to offer a workshop. Maybe a coping skills workshop, or a how to talk to your teen workshop, or a fun, low-cost ideas for date night kind of workshop. Or maybe not a workshop, maybe a video or a webinar. Anything like that, something new that I want to throw into the mix with my practice. That could be a new strategy I want to explore, depending upon what my goals were, right? So think about that. What do you want to keep doing? What do you want to do new or tweak? All right, that's step 4. Now, step 5, at this point, if you've taken some time, at this point, you should have a new list of goals and targets that you are aiming for in the next 90 days. Or if it's not a new list of targets, it might be a revised list of strategies that you want to implement to meet your existing goals. So now what do? Well, I want you to do a little brainstorming. I want you to think of the steps that you could take that might help you get there. Do a little brainstorming and make a list of, 3, 4, 5 steps that you could take that would be moving you in that direction. So to follow the example that I just gave, if one of the strategies, the new strategies I might want to try in the next 90 days was I want to develop, let's say, a webinar or some kind of a video-based training that I know my clients will love. My possible next steps might be something like brainstorm a list of topics, begin sketching out an outline for that teaching tool, craft a homework exercise or some kind of a PDF download that they could use, set up my recording equipment, do a practice run through of the recording, edit the recording, and then upload it. That's right off the top of my head. That's just a list of kind of next steps I can think of that would go with that particular strategy. What steps do you need to take? That's step 5. Just brainstorm those steps and go ahead and take a little stab at rearranging them in terms of priority or in terms of the ways they make sense. And y'all, just a little tip here, the more minute you can make it, the better. So don't say something like record new video, because that has 1,000 steps involved. Break it down. You will thank yourself later because the steps will be more actionable and easier to check off. All right. So that's step 5, brainstorm your next possible steps. And then step 6, and this is important. This is where the action happens. This is where the rubber meets the road. Pull out your calendar right now for the next 3 months and look at that quarter. And, for a moment, take a look at the rest of the year as well. And take these steps that you've identified in step 5 and map them out on your calendar. Which one are you going to work on in the next month? How about 2 months from now? How about 3 months from now? Which of those steps you're no way you're going to get to that in the next few months. So we're right now at the time of this recording, we're looking at January, February, and March, quarter 1. Be realistic. In fact, I would take that a step further and say, I want you to underestimate how much you can get done. So some of those steps that you came up with in step 5, you could get some of that done in the next 3 months. Some of it would be better to put off until quarter 2, April, May, June, quarter 3, July, August, September, or quarter 4, October, November, December. Do yourself a favor, spread it out. This is how progress happens, y'all. This is how momentum happens. This is how you get somewhere in your practice. It's not by doing 10,000 things in 2 weeks. It's by doing 2 things in 10 weeks. All right. I really want you to spread it out. And the more you sort of set this up as a big picture goal for each quarter, the more likely you are to follow through with it and actually get it done. How do you think I got that assessment done from last year? The IP360 scorecard. That was one of my goals for a quarter last year. See how this works? That's the biggie I want you to have today. I want you to sit down and do a review of the last 3 months and map out a plan for the next 3 months. When you finish, all of it should be in alignment with your annual plan that you came up with last week, and all of it should be fairly actionable. Here's what I'm going to get done in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Here's what I'm going to do the 3 to 4 weeks after that, and the 3 to 4 weeks after that. That's your quarterly plan. I love that so much because at this point you take that and put it on your calendar and now you really know what to do. But there's one more step I want to do at this phase of the process. Here's a little kind of a bonus tip. It's one more step I do to make sure that my quarter is unfolding as it should. And that is I do what I call monthly business planning day. I call them BPDs. A BPD is a business planning day. It doesn't actually have to be a whole day. It could be half a day. It could be 2 hours. It could be over breakfast, whatever works for you. But for me, I do this the last week of the month I basically set some time aside to make sure I am on track for the next month. For all of us, we tend to be juggling so much in our mind at any given time. It's very, very easy to lose our focus, lose our momentum, and sabotage our progress, right? Much less our overall success. So anything you can do that kind of keeps you on track and on top of things as the CEO of your business is good. So these monthly business planning days are where I sit down and I do a couple of things. The first thing I do is I pull out my annual plan and my quarterly review. And I just kind of take a quick glance at that, 5 minutes, just to make sure everything is still on track. Is that still accurate? Yeah. Is that still accurate? Yeah. Is that still where I want to go? Yeah. It's all good. And then I look at the next 4 weeks. And honestly, one of the things I want to do here is I get a little bit more granular. I start by looking at my calendar and making sure that all of my appointments are clear, that any obligations I've got for, a family birthday or a workshop I'm going to or anything like that, I make sure that all of that is in my calendar, like kind of the time-specific obligations that I've already got. I make sure that those are in my calendar. But then I also look at that 90-day plan that I'm living with right now, that I'm working off of right now. And I look at that and go, what did I say I wanted to work on this month? Okay, well, of that of that goal, that project, what can I do this week? What can I do the second week and the third week and the fourth week? Are there any key tasks or conversations or events or milestones that I want to put on my calendar? This is the time and place when I get more specific. So does this make sense to you guys? Last week, we talked about how to make a quick and easy annual plan. We talked about coming up with basically your goals for the year in 5 specific areas. Now we have applied those to your quarter. And we're taking the quarter and we're turning it into the month. So we've got an annual plan, which we break down into quarterly goals, which we break down into monthly areas of focus. And this won't surprise you. Next week, we'll talk about what to do with that each week and each day. And this is the cool thing, y'all. This is how success happens. One piece at a time, one step at a time, in a logical, aligned, strategic plan that moves you slowly and steadily forward. And before you know it, you wake up and it's the end of the year and you're looking at the last year and going, oh, look at what I did. Yay for me. That's how it goes. So to summarize, I want you to go download your quarterly success checker. Go to wendypittsreeves.com/quarter. wendypittsreeves.com/quarter. You'll get the download tool there, the free PDF that I've got for you. It's really cool. I think you'll like it. Sit down with that with a cup of your favorite beverage. Give yourself some time to process it, and you will come away from it knowing exactly what you're going to be focused on for the next quarter. And y'all, let me know if this is working for you. Send me a DM over on Facebook. I'm not on the grams. Sorry. You'll have to find me on Facebook or by email, or just drop a note in the reviews on Apple Podcast or on Spotify. You know I love that. Yes, I love that. I don't want this to be overwhelming. I think as you hear it, it might sound a bit that way, but when you actually sit down with the tools and start working through them, I think you're gonna go, oh, I see how this works. This makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Wendy. So go try it, and we'll take it from there. Thanks, everybody, for being here. This is what I've got for you today. I hope it is as helpful and practical and useful as I mean it to be. And I hope you have a tremendous week. And I will see you next time. Bye now.